Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stinchfield. Iran is in for another round of bombardment. The America that I know and love is unleashing hell on Iran. President Trump had just spoken from the Oval Office, said another round of bombs will be headed to Iran tonight as we speak, in fact. Now, we do know this. Check out this video. These are suicide drone ships taking out a submarine and a ship maintenance facility in Iran. This is what the United States now is doing after Iran totally went cuckoo, as President Trump said. So again, another round of bombing, another round of taking the fight to Iran. They're not smart about this. Iran wants to claim the Straits of Hormuz is closed. President Trump's making it clear that is not the case at all. Traffic is certainly light in the Straits, but he says they're open.
I want to be reimbursed because we're protecting a very rich portion of the world. We're spending money. And so what we've done is we are going to be reimbursed for protection. We're protecting by the countries that we're helping. For instance, you look at the 5 countries. You have Saudi Arabia. You have UAE, you have Qatar, or Qatar as I always say, you have Qatar, Bahrain, and by the way, you have others. You have Kuwait, and you have others, and they will do very well.
You know, quite frankly, this is the brilliance of President Trump. So yes, he says America will take over securing the Straits of Hormuz. He wants to charge a 20%, basically a tax on goods going through the Straits for protection. Okay, this is all to push our allies in that region to step up to the plate and do what's right. They need to take over the Strait ultimately. President Trump says we'll charge your cargo ships. I don't think it will be long until the countries he just named step up to the plate and say, you know what? We'll handle it. We don't want to pay all of that money. And President Trump, I'm sure, would be fine with that. Now, in the end, I don't think these bombings against Iran are going to end anytime soon, according to President Trump. Listen.
We had a deal yesterday or the day before yesterday. It was all done. And then they broke up that deal immediately because they found out there was something in the deal they didn't like. And they're wired differently, and we're not going to put up with it. We are just going forward. We're attacking them tonight. We're taking out all of their capability for anything having to do with the Strait, with the Hormuz Strait. And I think in the end, we will end up just controlling the whole thing.
So think about how dumb Iran is. President Trump gave them a lifeline. They literally had a deal in place. Funds would have been released if they just would have abided by all of this. And no, instead, the blockade is going to be reinstated. And not only that, but Iran goes and attacks Saudi Arabia overnight, Bahrain overnight, Kuwait overnight. Saudi Arabia says, we're not having it. Saudi Arabia then goes into Yemen and takes the fight to the Houthis there, which is the terror arm of Iran. And so Iran's getting it from all directions. They can't win this, but they don't care because they're willing to die for a cause. It's very difficult to negotiate with a group that is willing to die for the cause, and their cause is, of course, to spread Islam across the world and literally wreak havoc on America and our allies. This is the UN Ambassador Mike Walls talking about the situation.
They've attacked ships from Singapore, from Cyprus, from Panama. So they use this false notion of self-defense. What did any of those countries, what did those civilian seafarers do to Iran? They did nothing to Iran. They attack their own people. They're attacking the global economy. They're attacking their neighbors. This is a regime that is incredibly difficult to deal with.
So what does President Trump do? He's going to destroy them militarily, which they basically almost already are, and financially. The blockade is now in place. They are cut off economically from the world. So when will all this end? Can it all end? I want to bring in retired Major General John King to the program. General, it's great to have you on.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate the opportunity.
I guess, General, that is the question everyone wants to know. How do we put the screws to them so much that they cry uncle and say, okay, enough is enough, we'll behave like normal human beings? I'm afraid it'll never happen with them unless the regime's totally gone, General.
I think we have to remove the IRGC out of the equation. And that is the biggest impediment to getting anything done in that country. First of all, they have the guns, so they can intimidate the population into any kind of uprising or even a change. And the IRGC is fighting for survival because they know that if they lose this, they are done. The Iranians will uprise against them and they will be removed. And so this is a fight to the death. And of course, they've been very successful against the United States and the West because they've been able to bluff their way before. They are now having to confront President Trump, who is not like other American presidents who they have been negotiated with. So there's a different set of rules as a new sheriff, as we say.
All right, General, let me ask you. Say President Trump ends up calling you into the Oval Office and says, General King, how do I take out the IRGC? What's the best advice for our military to go out and do that? Because I'm with you. They're the evildoers right now. They're the ones I think actually calling the shots.
I think we have to get our allies, not only the Israelis, but the leaders in those regions, to use their intelligence and their ground assets that they have in Iran. And of course, the Kurds, we know, are starting to mount pressure in the north. They're now armed, they are moving, and they are taking on the Iranian army and taking on. And so the IRGC is having to deploy elements to deal with that threat. We have to bring we have to bring pressure from every direction possible to make sure that we can keep the IRGC from stymieing any kind of, negotiation. I think there are going to be some reasonable people in Iran, but they just don't have the guns, and they're threatened by the IRGC, and that's what's the biggest impediment to getting anything done right now.
All right. Let me play a clip from you. This is from one of these Iranian spokespeople. They remind me of Baghdad Bob, the little throwback here. But listen to this, and then I want to get your response.
We will in no circumstances allow the United States to interfere in the management of the Strait of Hormuz, and we will not allow it to do so. The armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran will deal forcefully with any disruption to commercial vessels and oil tankers used by this invading and pirate U.S. military outside the route designated by Iran.
I would assume they're not actually delusional. This is just propaganda, Major General. But what do you say to that person making that claim?
I think it's Baghdad Bob's grandnephew, I believe, is speaking there. Obviously, this is the communication is intended for their internal consumption, and nobody anywhere is taking those statements seriously. They just don't have the capability.
All right, so it's really a shame, but you have the mainstream media that does the work of Baghdad Bob or that ding-dong coming out of Tehran. This is MS Now. They're almost just as bad working for propaganda and a mouthpiece of the left. Let me play you this clip.
And in terms of even if the U.S. were to put a blockade in to stop the shipments from coming out of Iran, which isn't even happening right now, they could last for 3 to 4 months. So Iran can wage this low-level conflict for months now.
Do you think that's true, General?
I absolutely don't believe so. I mean, the U.S. forces struck down to 2 major bridges, which was the resupply lines from both China and Russia into Iran. And so that's going to curtail their ability to resupply. As you mentioned before, their economy is in shambles. They're going to barely have enough to be able to feed their people. And with that kind of resentment and that instability, the people will not stand for that, no matter how many IRGC thugs are patrolling the streets of Tehran.
All right, last question for you. I actually believe it will take boots on the ground in order to oust this regime and maybe, quite frankly, take out the IRGC. I don't want American boots on the ground unless maybe Karg Island, I say, okay, go take that where the oil comes out of. Do you think Israel would be capable if President Trump went to Bibi Netanyahu and said, hey, you send your Israeli troops. We'll support you from the air. We'll give you all the help you need. You send your troops in and go take this regime out. Is that a valid idea?
I just don't think so right now, Grant. I mean, because that would polarize and would keep, I think, not only the Kurds in the north, but also the allies who right now are suffering as a result of the bombardment. I think they're more capable force to deal with the limited issue. I think U.S. troops are potentially an option for Karg Island, for limited type controls of a very specific area that will continually add pressure. But I think President Trump is trying to do everything he can to keep U.S. troops from having to be used, because I think he's got other resources right now, and he's willing to wait. I mean, the Iranians were betting that our midterms and the pressure from our media, who's been very slanted against the administration, against the United States. And so they were betting that would keep President Trump. Yeah. And obviously they got that very wrong.
Yeah, they bet wrong, as most of the left does when they bet against President Trump. Not a guy you want to bet against. Major General John King, it's always great having you on the program. I certainly appreciate your service to America and of course, coming on the program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Pleasure's mine. I want to turn now to a very important story. In fact, this may be one of the biggest stories that nobody's talking about, the biggest housing reform in 30 years, and it's now law. For the first time, Washington is finally telling Wall Street, stop stealing the American dream. For years, giant investment firms have swooped into neighborhoods with all cash, outbidding young families, turning homes into rental properties, lots of them. This law starts putting an end to that. It also cuts government red tape, speeds up home construction, lowers building costs, and rewards communities that actually build more housing. More homes, of course, means lower prices. That is simple supply and demand economics. And this may be the first truly bipartisan bill to be passed in ages. Look at the vote. 85-5 in the Senate, 358-32 in the House. Washington can't agree on what day it is these days, but they agreed on this. Now, here's what the media will not tell you. This all traces back to President Trump. Months ago, he signed this executive order aimed at getting Wall Street off the backs of Main Street home buyers. That order laid the groundwork for what just became law. And give Charlie Kirk credit, too, on this. He was sounding the alarm long before anyone in Washington cared. He kept saying Wall Street was buying up American neighborhoods while first-time buyers got priced out. Here's Charlie in action.
I will agree that BlackRock is a huge problem to young people buying homes. And we as conservatives should be unafraid to say that. So I don't like big government, and I do not like big Wall Street business coming in, swooping in, and buying up homes and then renting them back to young people before they even can get off the finish line. I don't think it's right or it's fair.
I miss that man. I really do. Charlie made it an issue. Trump then set the agenda. He signed the order and got it done. Now Congress has finally acted, and young Americans will once again have a real shot of owning a piece of the American dream, a home. All right, I want to turn now to Lindsey Graham. This really is horrible news. I didn't agree on a lot of Lindsey Graham's politics, but I do believe the man loved America. Was he a warmonger? Yes. Was he pushing to move American military into places that I really didn't want to go, or American tax dollars to places I didn't want to go, like Ukraine? Yes. But I actually believe Lindsey Graham believed he was doing the right thing. In some respects, that's honorable. We can disagree. But here's the thing. I raised a question. Is this just this aortic fissure, this tear in his heart that killed him, or was it something more? I think we have a right to ask questions, especially after what he had said just hours before he died about Russia. He was in Ukraine, for crying out loud.
We've reached agreement with the White House on a version of the Russian sanctions bill that they will support. It means it's going to become law. So when I get back to Washington, I'm going to go with Senator Blumenthal to the Republican and Democratic leader to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package.
All right, here's the reality. I don't know if he was murdered or killed, but I do think it's fair to ask the question. I think this aortic dissection, tears in your heart, is very real, and it can cause sudden death. But you know me, I don't always believe in coincidences. In fact, I never believe in them. Russia would want that man killed for what he just spelled out there. Was Russia behind it? I don't know. But somebody's thinking like I am, because today I saw this outside of Lindsey Graham's home. FBI agents. If it's an aortic dissection, heart disease, what is the FBI doing at Lindsey Graham's house? Maybe they just want to check and make sure that there is no foul play, and I think that's a good thing through all of this. So it is no secret that MAGA didn't always agree with Lindsey Graham, but at times Lindsey Graham was a big supporter of President Trump on many issues, including the SAVE Act and including immigration. You know, his net worth, I just read, was $1.4 million. That is not a very big net worth for a United States senator. If anybody had an opportunity to take advantage of defense contractor insider trading and who knows what else, how they operate up there in Washington, it would have been Lindsey Graham. To see this $1.4 million net worth was eye-opening to me because it tells me at least he was up there not taking advantage of the situation. Here's Stephen Miller talking about Lindsey Graham.
You talk about Lindsey's legacy and past fights for the base. Let's remember this. It was Lindsey Graham who spearheaded the effort in the Senate to pass the largest, biggest, most significant border security and immigration enforcement package in American history. As soon as we won, he came to us and said, I'm going to get that border bill passed, come hell or high water, whatever it takes, I'm getting to President Trump's desk, and he did.
Well, in some respects, we needed his leadership on the SAVE Act, a bill that needs to be passed. His last conversation with President Trump was apparently about getting the SAVE Act passed and doing all he could do to try to make that happen. Well, today, the one who will pick up the reins on that is Darlene Graham Nardone, which is Lindsey Graham's sister. The governor of South Carolina has appointed her to fill out Lindsey's term until January. This was her today.
He dedicated his life to our country. It is such a privilege to get to finish some of his important work, and I promise to work hard over the next several months to support the president and carry forward the efforts of my brother on behalf of the citizens of South Carolina and the United States. I think this is what Lindsey would have wanted, and I plan to honor him in this way.
All right, now, of course, there's going to be a big run to see who will fill his shoes once the election comes. They've got to find now a candidate to replace him. The Republicans do. Obviously, an emotional day in the United States Senate. Here's John Thune, the leader of the Republicans in the United States Senate.
But I am comforted by the knowledge that in the end, he has just changed his address. And that one day, Mr. President, we will laugh together again. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Like I said, emotional for everybody. He seemed like a nice guy, quite frankly. I didn't agree with him on Ukraine and a few other things. All right, I want to bring in now Republican Senate candidate in South Carolina again. Mark Lynch is back with us. He was defeated by Lindsey Graham in the primary, but Mr. Lynch, you're throwing your name back in the hat. There's a massive run to replace Lindsey Graham. But before I get into that, I'd like to ask you, you ran against the man, but your thoughts about him and his death now.
Yes, Grant, thanks. Thanks for having me on again.
Of course.
You know, it is a tragedy. We couldn't believe it when we started seeing the news Sunday morning at 3 a.m. and got woken up by that. And it was just, we couldn't believe it. My wife and I, the day before, spent time together and worked in the yard and had a nice dinner. And we said it's nice to return to somewhat a normal life after a year and a half of our campaign that did a great job. And I want to thank all the volunteers and our campaign team and all the donors. And we started getting calls early. And I said, y'all, slow down. We need a moment of silence, a time for grieving and prayer for the Graham family. It's a tragedy. We didn't agree on things. That's why I ran. But that's a horrible thing for any family member to die suddenly like that with no forewarning. So our our prayers and condolences are with Darlene and the family. And so we started getting all kind of calls and everybody asking us to please run again. We need somebody like you. And we prayed about it and met late that afternoon. And we're announcing today that we are in. It's not a campaign we're jumping into. It's a campaign we intend to finish. It's the same focus, same mission, same seat. We're not bouncing around from a House seat to a governor seat to back to a U.S. Senate seat. It's not a career thing for me. I'm not a career politician. I'm a successful businessman, and I'm answering the call. And we're planning on finishing the race that we started almost 2 years ago when God called us and the people of South Carolina asked us to run.
Politics, sadly, is a brutal game. But we've got to get back to business because there are real important issues right now in the United States Senate. You even have Mitch McConnell, the Kentucky senator, who I guess is still in a hospital bed, that there's no telling when he's going to return to the United States Senate. This SAVE Act is very, very important. I'll ask you the same question I asked you before. What kind of ally would you be for President Trump if you were ultimately able to take this South Carolina seat in the future here?
I think Trump surely has investigated that. I've never met him. I've talked to him. But I'll be a U.S. Senator that'll work with him the whole time. And I'm an American first guy that loves America, loves our great state of South Carolina. And I'm a true conservative, and people are ready for that. People want somebody that is America first, that will serve America and do the right thing consistently all the time.
Mark, real quick, one of the big criticisms of many of these senators, they refuse to throw out the filibuster and get many pieces of legislation passed, not just the SAVE Act. Your thoughts on that, if you can, fairly quickly in short order?
Yeah, I agree. The filibuster needs to be nuked. We need to get rid of it. We can't do that in our business. We would go out of business if we closed every time we had to make a major decision. And again, like I said earlier, months ago, as a senator in D.C., I would use my power to form a committee to make a motion to vacate John Thune if he won't get rid of the parliamentarian that's causing rules to block votes, or if it's John Thune being threatened with a filibuster by the Democrats, being afraid and not doing his job, and bring it to a vote. We've got to move on. We've been talking about this for a year or longer.
That's the kind of boldness that I believe we need in Washington. You're always kind coming on the program during the campaign. I'm a big fan of yours, Mark Lynch. I wish you the best of luck. Where can people find your website to help you out?
Yes, and we're asking all of our voters again, thank you for what you did. We need you one more time so we can finish this. Go to lynchforsenate.com. That's spelled out F-O-R, lynchforsenate.com.
Sounds good. Mark Lynch, thank you for coming on the program tonight.
Thank you, Grant, and I appreciate what you're doing for this country. Thank you.
Oh, well, absolutely. I'm humbled to hear that, and of course, I'm happy to do it as well. All right, folks, listen to me. We wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by the framers. Hamilton built America's financial foundation on the principle of sound, stable money, a principle later embodied by the gold standard. What is the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that can be shaken, disrupted, or devalued? Birch Gold Group has been helping Americans solidify their savings with gold for the past 15 years. They'll help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Learn how gold fits into your portfolio by texting America to the numbers 989898. You'll receive a free no-obligation info kit. Text America to the number 989898. Again, that's America to the number 989898. Do it today. All right, cracking down on birthright tourism. One Texas lawmaker and now one federal lawmaker, both leading the way on this. The story next.
This is Fubo. It's your way to watch ESPN and other top sports networks.
Our country is under attack. The radical left woke agenda is infiltrating time is running out. Stand up and fight today.
Make America great again.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
I'm Patriot Mermaid, and I'm from West Haven, Connecticut. When the mainstream media wasn't giving us the truth, I went and looked for the truth and found it on Real America's Voice. Come and join us. Come on.
It's Stacy from Texas. I watch Real America's Voice because I need to learn, and I know I can get the truth through Rav. God bless everyone, and always love the children. Amen.
Hey y'all, it's Nancy from Texas. Real America's Voice gives us truth, not propaganda, and we need that. Thank you so much.
Welcome back, everyone. We have new information as to how Governor Tim Walz managed to pardon a child rapist. This illegal immigrant from Thailand, his name is Tulu Vang, was raping over multiple years a 10-year-old girl, okay? He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. They gave him clemency. We told you about this story. Well, now we've got some of the Clemency Commission's decision-making, a look inside from their own writing. Look at this. This is from Commissioner Zach Lindstrom, writing about pardoning this jerk. Very tough case, but the kid's not having a father is not in the best interest of society, talking about Vang's multiple children that he has. Why would you want a child rapist around any kids, even their own? You wouldn't. So apparently his response, the rapist's response to why he would be doing this over multiple years with a 10-year-old girl, listen to this sicko. Quote, he told police, I made a mistake, but this is a minor thing. It is a cultural thing in Thailand to marry and have sex with girls as young as 12. Quite frankly, we don't want any part of any immigrant from any country, any American that lives here, that thinks it's okay to have sex with 12-year-old girls, much less 10-year-old girls who he was accused of having sex with. So Marco Rubio stepped in. This clown will be gone. Clemency or not, he's being deported.
Because of our action, this foreign criminal will never pose a threat to any American ever again. Americans must never be forced by their elected leaders to live alongside foreign sex criminals who have no right to begin with to reside in our country. This administration will always stand with the American people and defend them from violent criminals.
Amen to that. I mean, look, I applaud the administration, but why do you applaud expected behavior? Like, this is my parenting 101. I don't reward expected behavior. This is expected behavior. We should not tolerate child rapists in our country. But thank you to the administration for doing what's right. Now to birthright citizenship. We're the only country in the world that grants people automatic citizenship if they're born here. Well, Jim Banks in the United States Senate has offered up, or will, he says the day he gets back, he will offer up a new bill that would make birthright citizenship it would outlaw it, and it would amend the Immigration and Nationality Act to exclude birthright citizenship for people that come here for the purpose of tourism. He labels them invaders. And go figure, it would exclude all invaders from having birthright citizenship. This brings us to Texas, where we now have to do something ourselves unless this law gets passed in Washington. I wouldn't hold our breath for that. Chip Roy, congressman from Texas, said this about what Texas needs to do.
They need to clamp down on hospitals like I was putting out there in public domain. And now you've seen the governor act on it, where you've got these hospitals in South Texas marketing their services to say, get born in Texas. It's extraordinary. And Congress needs to act too, by the way.
And so Congress acting is what Senator Jim Banks is trying to do. Thankfully, there are, well, I know there's at least one in the Texas State House, Republican Brian Harrison, who wants to make it a felony, birthright tourism. And he joins me again tonight. Brian, it's great to have you back.
Always great to be with you, my friend.
All right. It's got to at least be a positive that Congress is now at least talking about this. But as I said, I wouldn't hold their breath. I think Texas needs to act. Can you explain to me why and why speed is of the utmost importance right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're Texas. We're the world's 8th largest economy. We used to be our own country, for crying out loud. Why in the world are we sitting around twiddling our thumbs, waiting on Washington, D.C. to solve this problem? Okay, I'm sick and tired, and my constituents are sick and tired of the Republican, supposedly Republican government here in the state of Texas being content to just take it on the chin when these actions that have the potential to tear apart the very fabric of our republic, like that awful birthright citizenship case coming out of the Supreme Court, just happened to us. We need to stop acting like powerless bystanders and get in the game. Texas needs to go on offense. We need to fight back, and I'm calling for Governor Abbott to bring us back right now. Let's make birth tourism a state-level felony. We are absolutely within our power to determine what types of businesses are allowed to operate in our state, and we could criminalize that, and quite frankly, we could do it before next week is over. And, by the way, something that wouldn't even take a special session, I'm calling on the governor and his political appointees at Texas's Health and Human Services Commission to stop giving birth certificates, because people are going to be shocked to learn this. The state of Texas is using tax money to give birth certificates out, handing them out like candy to illegal aliens and non-citizens. I can't change unilaterally what Justice Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett and the liberals on the Supreme Court did, but there is no reason that the state of Texas has to issue state documents like birth certificates, because I would argue us continuing to do that, not only is that not fighting birth tourism, that's actually incentivizing birth tourism. And the 30 million people that call Texans home, these patriotic, overtaxed, hardworking men and women who love this state and love the value and what the value of American citizenship protected, they want their state to fight back.
All right. I believe Governor Abbott, at least with the birth certificates, could do what President Trump would do. President Trump could sign an executive order. Abbott could do it. Just say, hey, we're not going to do it. Yep. I don't even think it would take it legislatively. They might sue and all this stuff. Who cares? Hold it up in court. You brought this to me last week. You were on the program talking about this. What has been the response from your fellow lawmakers in Austin? Is there any traction? Anybody else saying, hey, Harrison, you're on to something here?
Well, it's growing. We are gaining momentum. State Representative David Lowe fully and publicly endorsed the call, actually, and 2 U.S. congressmen, Congressman Chip Roy and Congressman Keith Self, in the past couple of days have fully endorsed this plan as well. And you are right, Grant. My staff and I have researched this. We wouldn't, on the birth certificate piece, that would not require a special session. We have, for better or for worse, the legislature has granted massive authority to the bureaucrats at our state health agency, and all they would need to do is just, because they have the authority right now to determine who is, quote, properly qualified to receive a Texas birth certificate. All they need to do is determine that illegal aliens and non-citizens are not properly qualified. Governor Abbott could issue an executive order. The Secretary of Texas, HHS, could sign a regulation. This could be done almost immediately. And quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, a delay and inaction is a choice at this point. But yeah, I would ask everybody watching the show, if you live in Texas, call the governor, call lieutenant governor, call the speaker, call your state rep and senator, tag them on X or on Facebook. Ask them if they have publicly called for the state of Texas to immediately stop giving birth certificates and for a special session to criminalize birth tourism. And if they don't, Make them explain to you why they're happy to just sit around while this invasion continues especially after this disaster, this abomination of a birthright citizen. And yeah, Justice Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, if you want to litigate every single non-issuance of a birth certificate to illegal aliens in Texas, as far as I'm concerned, bring it on. The left never stops fighting, and I'm sick of Democrats fighting harder for the future than elected Republicans in the great state of Texas.
Well, you reiterated what I was going to say as well. Email your lawmakers, email Governor Abbott, call them, overwhelm them, as you mentioned, on X, tag them. That stuff works. The pressure does work. It's great ideas. Please keep us posted on this, Representative Harrison. It's great to see you, and keep up the good work.
Always great to be with you, my friend. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Texas.
Absolutely. Amen to that. All right, folks, listen up. America is reclaiming its position as the energy capital of the world. And you know where you can take part in this is in Wyoming. Wyoming's Bison Basin is now home to a 40,000-acre project assembled by Lost Soldier Oil and Gas. This is stacked formations of high-pressure natural gas. This is actually pictures and video from the site itself where wells have already been drilled. If you're an accredited investor, you have an ability to get involved in this. It's real easy. Just go to the website, lostsoldier.com. That's lostsoldier.com. You can scan the QR code on your screen right there. A member of the team will call you back. They'll run through the entire investment with you. There's webinars that they can send you, and you can go through it. I've hosted some of them to help move things along. They're fabulous and informative. I urge you, if you're interested in becoming part of President Trump's quest to make this country energy independent, you're going to want to be with Lost Soldier Oil and Gas. LostSoldier.com. That's LostSoldier.com. All right, dark forces are working behind the scenes. We'll turn back to Texas. They want to turn this state blue. That's next.
Country is under attack. The radical left woke agenda is in.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
This is Giselle Chaffin. I'm from North Carolina. I'd like to let you know that RAV News is the best news. Number one news. Truth seekers seek to find the truth. It'll set you free.
This is Rashad from Boston, Massachusetts, and I love Real America's Voice. It is the best place for real news and content. Much love.
I'm Patriot Mermaid, and I'm from West Haven, Connecticut. When the mainstream media wasn't giving us the truth, I went and looked for the truth and found it on Real America's Voice. Come and join us. Come on.
Welcome back, everyone. I want to turn our attention back to Texas. Texas is a great model for the rest of the country, but not always. Back in a few years ago, Texas passed a Texas Dream Act. It may have been 2001, I think. Let me just check this. Yes, 2001. They passed the Texas Dream Act, which allowed for illegal aliens to receive in-state tuition if they resided in Texas. Illegal aliens. That means American citizens from other states were going to pay more for college in Texas than an illegal alien would. That makes no sense. Well, the federal government sued the state of Texas over that, banning in-state tuition for illegal aliens. And that lawsuit has been upheld by a federal court. That is good news. Now, to George Soros, the liberal billionaire who wants to fundamentally change America. I have told you over and over again that if Texas falls, the entire nation falls. Those that want to take this country down have their sights on Texas. Already, George Soros has funneled $1 million into Texas Majority PAC. And aligned with Soros, he's contributed almost $8 million to this with other groups aligned with Soros. So you're looking at close to $10 million so far for just this election cycle. And this is for district attorneys. You talk about lawmakers. You talk about everything. They want Soros-style individuals running this state. And what would that do? Ruin us. You wouldn't know about this if it wasn't for Texas Scorecard. And, of course, the publisher for Texas Scorecard is my good buddy, Michael Quinn Sullivan. MQS, great to have you back on.
Hey, Grant, it's great to be with you this evening.
All right, so let's first start with Soros money. He's been funneling money into Texas for a long time. You must be seeing something here that has you sounding the alarm already, Michael. What's happening?
Look, he is continuing to dump millions and millions of dollars. And I think, for a lot of us, when we hear about George Soros spending money, you're thinking, the U.S. Senate race. You're thinking maybe members of Congress. But what we have seen more and more of in recent years, and this year kind of on steroids, is Soros making sure his cash is being spent in two areas. First, on district attorneys. You can look no further to the south of me and Travis County, where their district attorney, Jose Garza, is famous for letting violent criminals just walk free, not asking for any bail, just, hey, promise you'll be back and you'll be a good boy between now and then, is the kind of deals he's making with violent criminals day in and day out, making the city of Austin and Travis County inherently more dangerous every day. George Soros wants more guys like Jose Garza serving as district attorneys for very obvious reasons of disrupting our culture, disrupting the lives of normal people. But the other place he's spending money is making sure that Democrats have a candidate in every Republican Texas House seat. Now, look, many of the seats, Grant, as you know, are designed to produce Republican lawmakers. That's the way redistricting works. But they're hoping to, occasionally you can kind of catch a tiger by its tail. So by putting Democrats in every race, regardless of how, quote unquote, competitive it is, they hope to be able to gain enough seats for future redistricting, whether that's in in this next legislative session, 27 for the 28 election, or in 30 for the 31 legislative session. Soros is looking ahead, Grant. Too many of our friends think about, what's the election next on the ballot? George Soros is spending money so that he can be impacting our culture and impacting Texas elections a decade from now.
MQS, why do you think he has his eyes set on Texas, maybe more than any other state?
It is very simple. Look, we have a nation. We are a nation of 50 or 58 or 47, whatever the number that Barack Obama and Joe Biden couldn't remember. We're a state we have 50 amazing states, and many of them wonderful conservative states. But here is a very simple, uncomfortable truth. A Republican will never be elected without Texas. You just looking demographically, looking at population, looking at polling. If Democrats take Texas, if they are able to wangle away, to reshape congressional districts, if they're able to convince enough Texans to vote for Democrats, you will never again have a Republican sitting in the White House. George Soros understands that very simple electoral math. The road to the White House goes through Texas if you're a Republican. California, New York, those states are locked in for Democrats. They want to take out Texas for that very simple reason.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Lastly, it's not just Texas Soros is spending money in. He even spends money in California. Look, he'll play in these district attorneys' races in Los Angeles and San Francisco and all of these places. He's spending money all over the country. In the end, real quick, if you can, he wants, what do you think his goal is? He wants America to fall?
Oh, look, I think George Soros is like a whole lot of other Democrats. Sadly, like a lot of other Democrats, they have devalued America. They reject the notion of American exceptionalism. They want to brush aside the fact that that's because of the United States we have stopped dictators in 2 world wars. They want to brush aside all the advances, the improvement of life. Look, the poorest person living in the poorest part of the poorest Western country is still just amazingly wealthier than the wealthiest 1% of a century ago. And all that because of America. He wants to destroy America. He wants to make us look like Germany, make us look like the UK, France.
Michael,
he wants to make us look like these failing countries.
You named it. It's about American exceptionalism. They hate it on the left. It makes them squirm. But we're not apologizing for America, and certainly you and me are not apologizing for Texas. Texas ought to be the model for most things. MQS, Texas Scorecard, it's great having you on. Thank you.
Thanks, Grant. God bless you, man.
Absolutely. Back at you. All right, folks, listen to me. A study reveals the truth about the MMR and MMRV vaccines. The results will shock you. I don't know what an MMRV vaccine is, but I'm going to tell you when we come back.
It's fun for me to win on the course, but it's even more fun to win on Deal Dash.
Lori won $2,000 Tiffany earrings for...
Our country is under attack. The radical left woke agenda is infiltrating our schools, our houses of worship, our government, and our media. The younger generation needs you, the older, wiser generation, to stand up and lead us back to the right path. Think you're too old to fight back? Think again. Stand up right now and join AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. AMAC will give you the training and resources to become a citizen soldier so you can fight for the country you love before it's too late. AMAC is more than 2 million patriots strong. You need to be the next to raise your hand and join. Will you defend democracy? Will you fight for the nation you love? Scan the QR code right now or go to amac.com/RAV. Time is running out. Stand up and fight today.
Make America great again.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
This is Giselle Chaffin. I'm from North Carolina. I'd like to let you know that RAV News is the best news. Number one news. Truth seekers seek to find the truth. It'll set you free.
This is Rashad from Boston, Massachusetts, and I love Real America's Voice. It is the best place for real news and content. Much love.
Welcome back, everyone. You know I'm a huge fan of the Wellness Company and the work they do to uncover the truth for you when it comes to your health, certainly the vaccines of all kinds. You know, they did a study. The measles vaccine has caused a 2,657% more deaths than actual measles have caused since 1995. Now, you tell me, if the vaccine's causing more deaths than actual measles, why would you get the vaccine? I want to bring in now to discuss this epidemiologist and administrator for the McCullough Foundation. Nicholas Holscher is with us. Nicholas, it's great to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you and I have talked about this. This is literally, you weigh the risk reward. There is no reward that outweighs the risk on this. Am I right?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. The vaccine should never be deadlier than the disease. Never. And so we literally, for this study, we looked at official CDC data and the vaccine adverse event reporting system. And we looked at previous CDC records, and we found there's been 7 confirmed measles infection deaths since 1995. There's been 300 reported deaths with the MMR and MMRV vaccines since 1995. So that's 2,600% more. It's probably much higher.
All right. Now, just to play devil's advocate on this, those are pretty statistically insignificant numbers when you talk about death. I would hate to tell that to a parent of somebody who lost their life. But of all the measles vaccines, 300 deaths, you're not talking a huge percentage of people.
Well, the vaccine adverse event reporting system is actually very underreported. In fact, it appears less than 1% of adverse events are reported to VAERS, according to a Harvard Lazarus study commissioned by the HHS about 10 years ago. And so basically, we could actually multiply that conservatively by about 30, and we'll get up to 80,000% more deaths with the vaccines. And so, yeah, that's speculative, but that's likely, unfortunately, the case. 24% of these deaths were from sudden infant death syndrome. Most of them occurred within 2 weeks, and it corroborates a study by Miller that was recently retracted by the Journal Cartel that found 1,000 sudden infant death syndrome cases from various vaccines in that same vaccine adverse event reporting system, and 75% of them occurred within a week of the vaccine.
Yeah. It's amazing, and yet I'm sure you and the rest of the folks over at the Wellness Company continue to be vilified, or maybe even more importantly, if they're vilifying you in some respects, at least the story's getting out. Like, take the vilification. They ignore you, so they'll just ignore this, and nobody will report on any of this. Does the mainstream media want to cover what you just found?
No, they don't want anything to do with it. In fact, ResearchGate deleted it. They said it was a threat to public health. And so what happens is anytime a study finds a link between vaccines and death, they'll retract it or delete it. And we've seen this repeatedly. And one more thing, there was another study that was deleted from preprints.org. This was by Brian Hooker and colleagues. They found that infants vaccinated at 2 months, when they followed the CDC schedule, they had a 68% increased odds of dying in the following month compared to unvaccinated children. They looked at the Louisiana Department of Health death records, and girls were hit the hardest, 112% increased odds of dying in the following month when receiving all the vaccines.
Nicholas, this is about taking back control of your health decisions, which is what the Wellness Company is all about. You guys have these prescription medication kits. Part of this is about taking control of your wellness. Can you explain why this really should be in every household in America?
Yeah, this is very important. So basically, you can have this on hand in the case of an acute bacterial infection or a fungal infection, a dental infection, really anything, because we just published a study. And we found that among 300 intended use episodes, so about 300 people, they had to use it, 86% of them were able to avoid the ER or urgent care. And 82% of them got better within just 3 days.
It's amazing. Nicholas Holscher, always fascinating to talk to you. Thank you, and we'll see you again soon. I'm going to tell people how they can get with the Wellness Company and get one of these prescription medication kits. twc.health/voice. You can scan the QR code on your screen right there as well. Full line of products, including prescription medical kits, ivermectin, mebendazole, and much more. That's twc.health/voice. And don't forget, use that promo code VOICE to save 10% at checkout. Now, in case you thought Canada couldn't get any further left, or maybe more ridiculous, we have a video for you. That's next.
This is Fubo. It's your way to watch ESPN and other top sports networks.
Our country is under attack. The radical left woke agenda is infiltrating our schools, our houses of worship, our government. Stand up and fight today.
Make America great again.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
This is Giselle Chaffin. I'm from North Carolina. I'd like to let you know that RAV News is the best news. Number one news. Truth seekers seek to find the truth. It'll set you free.
This is Rashad from Boston, Massachusetts, and I love Real America's Voice. It is the best place for real news and content. Much love.
Is infiltrating our schools, our houses of worship, our government, and our media. The younger generation needs you, the older, wiser generation, to stand up and lead us.
Great again.
Welcome back, everyone. We all know that Canada, in many respects, is going off the deep end with liberalism. But this is insanity. The only flag that should be plastered on a police car is the nation's flag. In America, it should be the American flag. In Canada, it should be the Canadian flag. Not the gay pride trans flag that happens to be driving this cruiser with a trans dude in the car. But watch what happens in Canada. This is Toronto, by the way.
He drove me home in the fabulous Pride SUV. And as he was driving me home, we reached a stoplight, and then an individual in a pickup truck came up to us.
A transgender cop car. Look at that. Are you guys cops, or you just identify as cops?
The cop wasn't amused. And the transgender dude, who appears to be mentally ill, was not thrilled either about all of that. Anyway, don't forget, Stinchfield's Army merch is out. GrantStinchfield.com. GrantStinchfield.com.